This video will serve as a guide for sending a debt agreement. The system that we will be using is the Adobe EchoSign. Now once you're in the system, you'll go ahead and select Send and wait on that to populate. Now once this page has been populated, we'll go ahead and enter the client's email. In our case, we will just be using an email here. Now we'll go ahead and hover down to Document Library. Once that has been selected, it will populate a few documents here. However, we're going to go ahead and click on the necessary files, which is basically Debt 1 Agreement, Debt 2 ACH, and Debt 3 Credit Repair. Select Attach, and then we're going to go ahead and select Send and wait on that to populate the actual document that we will be needing. Okay, once the document has been populated, this is basically what you will be seeing. Now at the top right hand corner, you will be able to see Next Required Field with a number. Now this number represents the actual areas that you will need to actually fill out on this document in order for you to actually send the document to the client successfully. Now this, where it says Start, you're going to go ahead and click on Start. It will take you directly to the first area that requires you to actually enter. In our case, we'll go ahead and enter a training. That training for last name. It does require for us to actually enter the mother's maiden name, and that is a requirement. And the client's address. The name of the city. State, and zip code. It does require for us to actually enter in contact number, which we could either use a cell phone or a home phone. If you have both, you can enter both. We're going to go ahead and enter one here. And the email, which is basically the same email that we'd used previously. Now we will need to enter the client's date of birth. And their social, which is 9 digits only. And the client must have a source of income. It's very important that we actually have a source of income. Even if they're unemployed, they must be getting income from somewhere. Now we're going to go ahead and enter the source. The source means the source of the call, which in our case we'll go ahead and select debt sales call. Now it also requires for you to actually enter the representative's name. In our case, we'll go ahead and use. Okay, once that is done, we're going to go ahead and click on Next. It will take you directly to the other areas. And if you notice, the numbers keeps decreasing here. Alright, we're going to go ahead and enter $244.43 for the monthly payment amount, and we're going to go ahead and enter the starting date, meaning the date in which the first payment for this client will be deducted. So we're going to go ahead and enter this. I'm just going to choose the 15th of May, and the recurring date will basically be the 15th of every month moving forward as well. And here we're going to go ahead and select the actual qualified program. Now this represents 36 months, 48 and 60. Now in our case we'd use $244.43, so we're going to go ahead and select 36 and Next. Now this represents the creditor's information. Now we're going to go ahead and enter a creditor, so we're going to go ahead and use Chase Bank. So Chase Bank, the client's name, as well as, this is very important that we actually get the account number that is attached to the actual loan or credit card for this actual creditor. Now we're going to go ahead and enter that number. Okay, so let's just use that as the account number and the amount that the actual client is outstanding. Let's say it's $1,500. Now we're going to go ahead and move on and add another. Okay. Sorry. So that represents Bank of America. So for example, they have a card with them as well. So we're going to go ahead and enter the client's name again and another account number. Once it has been entered, we're going to go ahead and enter the amounts. Now for each debt agreement that we actually send the client, cannot have an outstanding debt lower than 2,500. It has to be 2005 or above. So once we've entered that, that's basically what we need, and we're going to go ahead and scroll on down to, let's see here, basically take us to the program verification, and it will require us to actually enter a date here, which is the actual date that you're filling out the document. Okay, 2016. I'm going to go ahead and click on send. Next, sorry. Alright, then it will take us directly to this area now that requires us to enter the account number. This account number represents the client's banking account number. Now, for the account number, it can only be a checking or savings account that we actually use for this program. Okay, so here you're basically going to go ahead and enter the client's account number, whether checking or savings. So, for example, that's it. I'll copy this. Let me see. Next. Okay, so this is what's next here. We're going to go ahead and re-enter the client's date of birth. So at this point, you can scroll back and copy the client's date of birth here. Take us back down on this document. And we're going to go ahead and paste. Okay, so there it is. Now, the other required field is the actual name of the client's bank. Now, the bank that we will be using is Wells Fargo. Okay, so that's Wells Fargo, and we will need for the client to actually provide us with the routing number. The routing number is 9 digits only. So it's 9 digits. And once that has been filled out, as you can see, the numbers keeps decreasing. Now that if you notice, a few of the errors are also automatically filled in from what we did above. Now, this is the amount of the monthly required payments, and we're going to go ahead and enter the dates, month, date, and year. So the first payment comes out in May, and that will mean the 1st. Okay. And the following month, so each time you actually enter a digit here, you just either select tab or you can just space it out. So we're going to go ahead and enter the recurring dates and the year. Okay. I personally prefer to actually select the tab instead of having the mouse hover all the time. It makes it easier for me. And we're going to go ahead, and this basically represents the first date that you have here. So we're going to go ahead and re-enter this right now. Okay, once that is done, if you notice, there's just 3 errors that actually requires you to fill out. So we're going to go to next. Now this area requires the client's first and last name, which is debt training. Okay. Alright, the other required field is basically the client's name again. So I'll go ahead and copy this. You can either copy it or you can just type it over. And the client's date of birth. Okay, once that is done, this will populate here for sign. And what we're going to do now is to go ahead and click on send. The document will be sent directly to the client. Okay, and this is what will basically populate here. Now once a document has been sent, the client will actually receive it there on their end, and you can either walk them through the process of having it signed, which is highly recommended that you actually do.